What do you have to say to Adam Hoffman, the victim of Adam Hoffman? Mr. Paxton, what do you have to say?
There is nothing to say. Any normal human being wouldn't have let that monster back on the streets. If you don't know Adam Hoffman, you will. It's looking like this will be a big part of Talarico's campaign in Texas. Likely because the race is so insanely close that this scandal might just be the one that sinks the MAGA maniac Ken Paxton. He certainly isn't doing himself any favors by looking as shady and guilty as possible when pressed for answers.
Excuse me, Mr. Paxton. What do you think about Adam Hoffman? Why'd you get a plea deal for a sex predator? Do you have anything to say about that? Should he be registered as a pedophile in the state of Texas? Sex offender?
Step back.
What do you have to say to Adam Hoffman, the victim of Adam Hoffman? Mr. Paxton, what do you have to say?
This is not a good look. Well, it's hard to look good after giving an Epstein-style sweetheart deal to a predator. But given the proclivity for MAGA to be abusers, we shouldn't be surprised. Paxton's lazy eye completely overlooks those kinds of crimes, instead letting Adam Hoffman, who was facing a life sentence, get off with just a month of jail time.
According to county officials, a jail sentence serves like a 2-for-1, meaning each day actually counts as 2, which is how Hoffman managed to serve only 29 days of the 60-day sentence. Originally, Hoffman could have faced a life sentence, but Hoffman's charges were reduced when he agreed to a plea deal, and he did not have to become a registered sex offender or lose his bar license. And if there wasn't an uproar about his lessened sentence 29 days ago, there certainly is now. Our Facebook page is on fire with questions, concerns, and outrage.
And of course, Talarico is jumping on this to showcase how twisted the GOP is. Epstein and Palestine are the two biggest wedge issues between the Republican establishment and their base. And I, for one, think this could really be a smart issue to focus on as we move into the general. James posted, Ken Paxton let a pedophile back on our streets. He gave Adam Hoffman an admitted predator an Epstein-style sweetheart deal. Texans deserve answers. Release the Hoffman files. Now, the reason I think this is a smart move is because we know that it works. As this user Dan Desmond from Delaware points out, the Republicans used this play to great success. Except back then, it was used to take down one of the leaders of the progressive movement. I'm sure those who are older than me remember Willie Horton, the murderer that the Republicans framed as a friend of Dukakis. Many say that this strategy of pairing the Democrats to letting criminals back onto the street was the reason that we got Bush #1. And I'm inclined to believe that, considering how visceral the response is that we all have every time we hear about Ghislaine Maxwell's puppies. Talarico is expertly capitalizing on this perception shift from the GOP being the party of law and order to now being the party of pedophiles and scammers. The polling out of Texas is starting to round out now that people are moving from the primary to the general. And while this might not seem good for us at first, these numbers are actually a nightmare for MAGA. Big shift in Texas. A UT poll shows Talarico going from +8 in April to -1 now. Why? Because Paxton consolidated the GOP. In April, Paxton got 63% of GOP voters, with 10% going to Talarico. Now Paxton gets 84, with 5% for Talarico. Now, -1 might sound bad, but you have to remember that this is the Republican stronghold of Texas. Not only is that within the margin of error, there is still a lot of runway for this messaging to sink in. On top of the fact that he's still performing better than we've ever seen a Democrat do in Texas, at least for decades. Aaron Blake continues here, of course, -1 is still very competitive. There was only one poll in all of 2018 that showed Beto O'Rourke that close. And here is the real death knell for the Republicans. While we can assume that the Republicans are going to rally behind Paxton no matter what he does, the same can't be said for independents, who may end up being the deciding factor in this race. And if I was one of the incels on Paxton's team, these numbers would scare the shit out of me. New Senate polling from Texas independent voters, Talarico is at 40%, while Paxton sits at 12%. The truth is, people are ready for a new kind of politics even in Texas, where folks are struggling just the same as everywhere else.
I honestly get the sense that people across the spectrum, across the state, are tired of this politics as professional wrestling, right? You got these old guys lathered up in their fake tan, throwing corny nicknames right at each other. And those corny nicknames, they don't lower the price of groceries. They don't lower the price of gas. They don't lower the cost of housing and childcare and prescription drugs. Yeah. They don't give anybody their voting rights. Right. They don't address the maternal mortality crisis. And so what people are hungry for is elected officials who are going to do the work, who are going to bring both parties together and pass legislation that's actually going to make their lives easier and better and less stressful. And I'm putting my money on that. I really am.
The GOP seems dead set on this strategy of attacking Talarico over identity politics. The fact that he was once a vegan and that he has a hot Latina girlfriend. But no one cares about that. I can assure you, as a born and raised Texan, eating barbecue is important, but it's not as important as my grocery bills. And the more that they try to frame Talarico as not masculine, the easier it becomes to point out that these so-called alpha males on the MAGA side are complete failures.
I think that these nicknames and these personal attacks don't actually meet the needs of Texans, right? Everywhere I go across the state, all I hear about is how folks are drowning, how those ends at the end of the month never seem to meet, and how people can't get by, they can't afford the basics, groceries and gas and insurance and prescription drugs, the things we need to survive. And they're looking desperately for elected leaders who are actually going to solve their problems. And so when you see Ken Paxton and the Republican Party attacking me personally, attacking my girlfriend, attacking my church and my pastor, I think it exposes the fact that they have no clue how to get this economy back on track. They have no solutions to lower people's costs and raise their pay.
Honestly, it doesn't really matter what attacks the GOP throws at Talarico. No one is going to flip their votes at this point. This election isn't going to be about convincing Republicans. It's going to be about motivating the base. And even Fox News can see the writing on the wall. Here's coming from a report on Fox: ballots in House primaries, 12.6 million for the Democrats, whereas only 8.6 million showed up for the Republicans. This year is going to be a blue tsunami with Democratic socialism at the crest. Subscribe to U.S. Democratic Socialists and check out your local DSA chapter if you haven't already. I'm Tony Hinderman, and I'll catch you next time.